Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 11, text 43. Pitasi lokasya characharasya tvamasya pujyascha gururgariyan natvat samostyabhyathikas kutonyo lokatraye piya pratima prabhava. So Arjuna's prayers to Krishna continues after he sees the universal form. This is one of the prayers. He says, O Krishna, you are Pitasi, you are the father of this Lokasya, of this entire world, consisting of Chara and Achara. Chara Charasya Lokasya Pitasi. Chara means moving, Achara means non moving beings. And Twamasya Pujyasya Gurur Gariyan. You are Pujyaha, you are worshipable. Pujyascha Guruhu, you are the Guru, you are the spiritual master. Gariyan, the greatest worshipable chief and the spiritual master. And Natvat Samaha Asti Abhyatikaha. There is nobody Samaha Asti, Na Samaha. There is nobody equal to you. Abhyadikaha, and nobody greater than you. Lokatrayepi Apratima Prabhava. In these three worlds, Lokatraye, you are immeasurable. Apratima Prabhava, your power is immeasurable. So, Arjuna is praising or worshipping Krishna as the spiritual master. Prabhupada says in the purport, Lord Krishna is worshipable as a father is worshipable for his son. Pitasi. He is the spiritual master because he originally gave the Vedic instructions to Brahma. And presently he is also instructing Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So when Brahma was first created, he received the Vedic knowledge from Krishna's flute. And then he was initiated as a Brahmana, having received the Vedic knowledge. So he acted as the original spiritual master of Brahma. And when the disciplic succession appears to have been broken, again he re-established that by being the spiritual master of Arjuna. So see, he is the original spiritual master, Guruhu. And Prabhupada says, and any bona fide spiritual master at the present moment must be a descendant in the line of disciplic succession stemming from Krishna. Without being a representative of Krishna, one cannot become a teacher or spiritual master of transcendental subject matter. This is the important thing. The spiritual master must come in the disciplic succession, coming all the way from Krishna. Otherwise, one cannot accept that person as a spiritual master. And Prabhupada also, he, in one of the lectures, he talked about what is the symptom of such a bona fide spiritual master. Everybody, they have that eagerness to become the guru, and people advertise also, act as also as guru. It is said that Shabde parecha nishnatam tasmad gurum prapadyeta jignasuhu shreya uttamam Shabde parecha nishnatam brahmani upashamashrayam. That person must have taken complete bath, nishnatam, in the ocean of Vedic literature. Shabde parecha nishnatam. You cannot say, I don't believe in Vedic literature. I don't believe in Bhagavad Gita. There are gurus like that. You may be surprised. They say, "Oh, I am self realized. I don't need any book," or "You don't need to read any book." No. But the scripture is saying the spiritual master must be completely expert in Vedic literature. Prabhupada says one who has taken complete bath, Nishnatam, in the ocean of Vedic literature, Shabde Pare. Just like if you take a bath, you become refreshed. And without being refreshed, one cannot understand this sublime subject matter. And after being refreshed, after such cleanliness, he has taken shelter of the supreme absolute truth, that spiritual master, without any material desires. He has no more material desires. He is simply interested in Krishna, the absolute truth. That is the symptom of the Guru or a bona fide spiritual master. And one cannot become like that by one's mental speculation, some logic argument. The process is that person must have another bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession all the way to the disciplic succession. To show an example, I'll give one incident from Chaitanya Charitamrita about how the spiritual master must be conversant in the Vedic literature. And there are people who propose their own theories and showcase their expertise, but they will meet a very negative result if they don't respect the scripture and respect a bona fide spiritual master. Like, for example, there was one incident in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was one meeting conducted where they were discussing the glories of the holy name, what all the holy name can do. And somebody was speculating that the holy name gives pious results. Somebody says the holy name cannot give liberation, and so on and so forth. And at that time, Haridas Thakur happened to come by. He's the Namacharya, the bona fide devotee of the Lord. And he says, just as the sun begins to rise in the sky in the morning, early morning, even before it is visible, it dissipates the darkness of the light of the night, isn't it? The sun doesn't have to come up. Even just by the tinge of the red, even before the sun comes up, there is a tinge of redness. That first glimpse of sunlight, it dissipates the darkness of the night. All the fear of thieves, ghosts, demons, they immediately disappear. And when the sun is actually visible, everything is manifest. And everyone begins performing their religious activities and regulative duties. So, similarly, that the first hint that offenseless chanting of the Lord's holy name has awakened, it dissipates the reactions of sinful life immediately. Just like the fear of the ghosts, thieves, everything is driven away by a slight appearance. Similarly, when we start that offenseless chanting, when one chants the holy name offenselessly, all the sinful reactions are driven away. And when one continues to chant, one awakens to the service of the Lord in ecstatic love. So, liberation means it's like eradication of sinful reactions. That is the very first stage. That means liberation is the insignificant result derived from just a glimpse of awakening of that offenseless chanting of the holy name. Just by a glimpse of that offenseless chanting, the liberation is achieved. So, Haridas Thakur said like this. And there was another Brahmana named Gopal Chakravarti. He became very angry and he began to challenge Haridas Thakur. And all others warned Gopal Chakravarti not to challenge Haridas Thakur because of his elevated position. He's a bona fide personality. And then he said, he continued to blaspheme and challenge. He said, even the name itself cannot give liberation, and you are telling that the Nama Bhasa, just by a glimpse of offenseless chanting, can give liberation. What are you saying? He started to challenge. If I am speaking the truth, then your nose will fall off due to leprosy. And if I am wrong and you are right, then my nose will fall off. So he challenged like that. And everybody was stunned. He was speaking so arrogantly. And they all became angry at that person. And then there was the father of Raghunath Das Goswami, who was the head of that assembly. He told him, just get out of this assembly. I have no sympathy for you. And and after a couple of days, it was the Brahmana's entire body was attacked by leprosy, and his nose started to melt away. And he was suffering like that. And he, after many days being extremely upset, he left for a place called Aparada Bhanjana Pata, means a place where offenses are destroyed in Navadvipa. There he prayed to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I've done wrong, I've committed offenses to the lotus feet of a high class Vaishnava, please excuse me. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forgave this Nama Paradi and instructed him to continuously chant the holy name. And then he became rectified. So the Guru must be conversant in all these intricacies of various aspects of devotional service. Otherwise, anybody can say anything. That's what goes on in this world. In the name of spirituality, everybody proposes a theory. But that should not be done. There was one conversation with Prabhupada and some of his scientific disciples. Because the the modern world, the scientific oriented world, they say, oh, we don't need these gurus or scriptures because they are meant for those who are not educated and they are not very scientific. The scriptural knowledge, they just give some instructions without any logic and understanding of science. So we are the authorities, they say. So one of the disciples, he told Prabhupada, Prabhupada, these scientists, they say that they should be accepted as the authorities. And Prabhupada, he said, so why is that we have to accept you as authority? And then uh, the disciples were saying because of a lot of advanced things that they achieved, and they gave an example of the huge aeroplane, the 747 jumbo jet. And then Prabhupada said, yes, they can manufacture a jumbo jet like that, but they cannot make a small mosquito, which comes complete with pilot. That is God's creation. But they are saying they want to replace God and declare that He doesn't exist. So Prabhupada said, you should understand that we are not saying you're bad, but you should understand that you cannot replace God, or you cannot blaspheme God, you cannot deride God's instructions and scriptures. You should not be proud falsely. That is our point. And then mislead others that there is no God. Because you are an authority, you have some fame, and if you say, oh, there is no God, They will accept it. So that is nonsense. So, but actually, good scientists like even Isaac Newton supposed to have said, "Oh, the vast knowledge. All I have done is simply gathered a few grains of sand on the beach of knowledge." He was being humble. And then another disciple, he raised another argument. Oh, Prabhupada, they say that, yes, we may be limited, but we have a process by which we'll understand more and more as time progresses. We'll discover more and we'll become perfect. And then Prabhupada said, you can keep on discovering and you can keep on accumulating more knowledge, but it'll always be insufficient. You'll always say there's more to come, more to come. You will never become perfect. And many times they get bewildered that, oh, we have assumed that this is correct, but this is not correct. Like how they considered there was a 10th planet, and then the Pluto was considered a planet, and then they declared it was not. And then these various particles of atomic atomic particles, and they continue to be bewildered by more and more discovery and all these kind of things happening. So this material knowledge sometimes is contradictory, whereas spiritual knowledge, the scripture never changes. The truths of the life never changes. Bhagavad Gita never changes. Like even if that statement appears contradictory, like the stool of an animal, it is said it is impure and one must immediately take bath if you touch it. But the same scripture says the stool of the cow is very pure. So now one might think, oh, why is it said like this? It's contradictory. No. If you actually examine the stool of a cow, the cow dung, it has got all antiseptic properties. We can research. But if you accept because it is told by the authority, then you are the most intelligent. The research is all done by the authorities, the supreme scientists, spiritual scientists. Just like you don't know who is your father. You can do research for all the men in the world to find out who is your father, or accept the authority of the mother. So, this is intelligence. Here is your father, you take it. So, the whole world is unfortunately misguided in the present day world. Who is the spiritual master, who is not? So, there was one king who was ruling the kingdom very nicely, but then he had been guided by a, a wrong minister. Somehow, that minister came to power because of, by hook or crook, used his material intelligence and sided good aids of the king, and he became the personal advisor, and he drove away all those good people, and he only guided the king in a materialistic way without any spiritual benefit, spiritual good of the people. And then he would get all the comforts by various policies. He was getting benefited. So the king, he was just following the minister, the wrong advice of the minister, thinking the minister is a very intelligent person. So slowly the king's efficacy started to go down and the kingdom started to suffer. And king was not knowing what to do. He was also seeing the ill effects. He didn't know that this was the result of this following this bad minister. And then there was this bona fide guru in the kingdom who had been guiding that that kingdom, the kings from a very long time, the lineage of the spiritual masters. His spiritual master guided the previous king, but somehow this minister sidetracked all these people. So the spiritual master, he couldn't see that, and he told one of his disciples, "We need to get back the kingdom to the proper place." And he said, "We need to get the attention of the king." And so he told the disciple, "Please get the attention of the king. Please get him to talk to me." And the disciple was thinking what to do. And Krishna gave him inspiration. So he was sending a nice, leafy vegetable dish to the king's chef. And the king's chef was giving it. He made friends with the chef, and the chef was giving that vegetable to the king. And the king was eating it. It's a Krishna prasadam, and he was tasting it so much, so nice. And then every day he was getting and he was relishing. And suddenly it was stopped. And then the king was wondering why you stopped giving me this. And then the chef said, "No, no, no, this person used to come and give me, and he is not coming anymore." And the king said, "No, no, no, go find where this person is." And so they all went and then found that this person is the disciple of such and such spiritual master. And they summoned him, "You should come." And he denied, "No, I don't want to come." And then the king ordered him, "Tell him to come, otherwise he will be killed." And then they gave a letter. The soldiers came and told. The king said he will punish, he can kill you if you don't come. And then the guru and the disciple, they gave the soldiers a letter. They said only the king should open it. And so they went and gave to the king, and the king opened. And the letter said, "You can be killed, but we cannot be killed." And then the king became so angry. "What do you mean? I can be killed, you cannot be killed. I'll show you what I am." And then he personally went there with his sword. And then he said, "What do you mean? I can be killed and you cannot be killed. Who do you think you are?" And they said, "Yes, because this body can be killed. You are on the bodily platform. And if death cannot be avoided, and if you die, you are killed. You are thinking you are gone. But we are on the spiritual platform. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The spirit soul does not die. So even if you kill me, I cannot be killed. Kam ghatayati hanti kam." And then the king, after all, he is a good person. He is a Kshatriya, Rajarshi, but misguided. And then he came to his senses. His eyes was opened. He never heard such an instruction ever in his life. And then he realized this guru must be a self-realized person. And then he started to inquire and became his disciple. And then he found that he was being misguided. And then he understood this crooked minister, he was misguiding him. And then he took off that minister from his post, chastised him, and again started to take the guidance of this spiritual master. And then the kingdom became all right. The similar incident happened during Jadabharata time. This Jadabharata appeared like a foolish. Jada means dumb Brahmana. So nobody was caring for him. He was a very stout person, and people were using him for wrong purposes, to take care of the fields and to lift weights, and they were making fun of him and all that. And so this king's soldiers called him, "Hey, we need to lift this palanquin of this king. We are short of one soldier." And then he was lifting and he was like making disturbances. He was not walking properly because he was avoiding these ants. And then the king became very upset and he got down and started to chastise him. And then he spoke like that, Yadabharata. "Yeah, you can say whatever you want because I am not this body." And then the king was shocked. He's never heard such instructions. And then he surrendered to him and he started to inquire from him and became his disciple. That king Rahugana became the disciple of Jadabharata. So sometimes the spiritual master may appear may appear to be like that, an ordinary person, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's spiritual master, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He appeared, even materially, he was known to be illiterate. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was the most scholarly personality of his time. He surrendered to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj because he is in the disciplic succession. He knows the absolute truth. And even if the instruction is very strong, like this Guru told, you can be killed. The Guru was so upset. So sometimes the spiritual master's instructions, the Vedic instructions, can be very strong, but they are the truth. Anybody who pleases the disciple with some uh, rosy words, he cannot be Guru. One should represent the Vedic literature, represent the Guru Parampara without any compromise. And then the mercy will act. It's like the medicine, or the doctor says, this is a deadly disease, there has to be surgery, then he'll be cured. There has to be pain. And anybody who say, no, 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 it's okay, I'll give you some painkiller, it'll only temporarily gives relief. But internally it goes on increasing. So the modern gurus who are not bona fide, they please our senses to get their followers. Ah, you can do whatever you want. Whatever is pleasing to you, they'll say. Looks good to hear, looks very easy to implement, but not coming from scripture. They're not from the bona fide lineage. They cannot help us. Only a bona fide spiritual master can help us. And we have to be intelligent who that is. Like how Srila Prabhupada is that bona fide spiritual master we are following. Because he is coming from disciplic succession and he is the expert in the Vedic knowledge. He gives bona fide knowledge by which our ignorance can be destroyed. I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments? Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.